Well, the Geneva Accord has all the elements of a win-win formula whereby in return for certain nuclear concessions by Iran, some of the sanctions are eased and so on. There's really fear-mongering that is shared by some hawkish U.S. politicians, especially in the U.S. Congress. It is completely misplaced and misses the point about this win-win aspect of the agreement. And the Israelis, in my opinion, have simply isolated themselves in the international community by opposing an argument that will prove itself in the process of implementation during the next 6 months. So much depends on how faithfully the terms of this agreement are implemented in practice, not simply as a piece of paper with the parties pledging loyalty to it. And we have already seen some not very good signs from the European Union reimposing some sanctions after they had pledged no new sanctions, and that is a worrying element. And one may assume that this has come about as a result of the Israeli pressure. So hopefully the U.S. government will manage to insulate itself from this negative, destructive, and very unhealthy Israeli pressure that interferes in the domestic affairs of a sovereign government, and continue to abide by the terms of the Geneva Accord, which calls for, as I said, easing of the sanctions and the process of negotiation for a final status on the Iranian nuclear issue. So this is an agreement that also mentions Iran's right to enrich uranium in a final agreement within the context of the Non-Proliferation Treaty and mutual consent of the parties that happen to be the permanent members of the UN Security Council plus Germany. So this involves an indirect negotiation between Iran and the UN Security Council, which, as we know, has imposed various rounds of sanctions on Iran. So the Geneva Accord raises the prospect of resolving the issues between Iran and the UN Security Council, and future action by the UN Security Council to basically consider its resolutions on Iran moot and accomplished or whatever. So that is one of the obstacles that remain that need to be tackled in terms of follow-up action by the UN Security Council. On the other hand, there are some voices in America that try to telescope the Geneva Accord to a complete disposition of Iran's right to enrich uranium and to extract new concessions from Iran during the next 6 months of negotiation for the final agreement. And so, there's some unhealthy pressure that could derail the process in addition to the Israeli pressure. And this goes to some of the, statements made by the U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry and other officials calling for the dismantling of the Iranian enrichment program. And, hopefully the U.S. government will refrain itself from moving in that direction, which of course constitutes Iran's red line that cannot be crossed. So much depends on the future negotiation and good faith on the side of both parties, and hopefully we will see a final resolution whereby all the unjust sanctions on Iran will be removed and the restoration of healthy relations between Iran and the entire international community will transpire.